Yes.
Okay.
So we are going to do some ink line and wash or watercolor sketches, and I don't have any experience with it, so I'm just asking my dad to teach me one-on-one so that we can, so he can learn, I can learn. Anyway, so I made a deal with him saying I'm going to check inside this book. He doesn't know what I'm going to choose. The English Village. The English Village. So it's going to
For a reference photograph.
for a reference photograph, exactly.
I had one selected I thought would be a good one to do, but you know, if you want to pick one, go ahead.
I want to surprise you so you don't keep you on your toes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're the one that's going to find it challenging, but we'll see how that goes.
Excuse you. Yes, I will find it challenging, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna go to, I've been to East Sussex, Alfredston 20.
The thing with this kind of stuff is it takes, I spent a long time looking for the perfect image, right? And that's one of the traps artists fall into is, oh, if I could only just find the right inspiration.
Found it.
Oh boy.
Found it.
Oh boy.
So
Okay.
this one with water. We're gonna do one with the water.
Okay, well, you like to go hard right out of the blocks, huh?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So, what do you want to know?
Yeah. So when you you know, how many sketches have you done in your life, and with all this experience, what's your usual way to start? What do you like to do? How would you teach me how to do it?
So I've done hundreds of sketches, and like I was teasing you, quite often finding the right image, you spend a lot of time thinking you're going to find the right image that's going to inspire you, and really you don't need to do that. You just need to find something and draw it, and find another thing and draw it, and find another thing and draw it. So you've picked this image, so let's see how I would tackle this. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's in the camera.
Yeah.
Can I just take a minute to move it into the image? So there's a whole image that we want to reproduce. It's either a reference or it's out in the world, and you're going, okay, what are the big shapes, okay? Or how is the image composed? So right now there's a very strong horizontal line right about the middle of the image. That's not so great. Traditionally, a 1/3, 2/3, 1/3 offset helps. But because there's this boat in the foreground, that balances it out. So this boat is actually creating an interesting composition. So let's just see what the parts are. I would say, okay, so I would look at where that line is relative to the overall composition, and then I'd say, well, what are the big shapes? The big shape is the sky, right? The other big shape are all these buildings.
It's kind of like background, foreground, midground.
Well, actually, background,
midground, foreground.
Midground, foreground.
Yeah.
And so when you think in those kinds of terms, that helps you create the sense of depth, right? So stuff in the foreground, middle ground, background. So there's our three parts of a traditional sketch. Okay, so you get that? So this is a big shape, sky, the buildings, and then the foreground.
I can't wait to start.
Okay, so where do you start?
In West Sussex.
In West Sussex. Don't fall into the trap of drawing all the little details initially. Try to get the big shape. So start by drawing.
Okay, let's do it. I want to start.
Let's do it. Let's just do this.
Start.
Okay, so here.
Instead of telling me what to do to start, let's
start. I'm going to do it, and you're going to do it. Okay, so where I would do is because this is a real great reference line, I put that somewhere. And when you put that line in, you want it somewhere relative to your, is it halfway up your page? Is it a third way up your page? So in this case, if this is your picture plane, where is that line relative to the top and bottom of the...
Yeah, I think right here.
Yeah, so is it really? Look at it. 50-50. Is that the midpoint of the page?
It's okay, it doesn't matter.
That's okay, yeah. So
sure.
It's midpoint. So actually it's down here somewhere. All right? Like here. All right? Try it. Perfect. Okay,
there
now
you
you
go.
got a reference.
Nice.
Okay, so right below that line.
I find it really hard to actually just do one line.
Yeah. Well, a trick with yeah. Well, a lot of people say I can't draw a straight line. Well, when you're sketching, you don't really need to draw straight lines, perfectly straight lines. But
Yeah.
One tip is not to use your fingers to draw so much, but use your whole arm. Just move your whole arm across, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists will tell you just use your whole. Painters will say they paint with they use their whole arm. They don't use their wrist and their fingers. Yeah. See, how does that feel?
Kind of nice.
Kind of nice.
Okay. I never draw anything.
Okay, flip it over.
Okay. This is exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get a feel
okay.
for how that. So you know, and you know, you can go slowly, but smoothly.
Mm.
Okay. So
Okay.
you've got that line. Now, what's the next thing you're gonna want to draw in?
Lines are so hard.
Oh well, stay tuned.
Yes.
Where's the skyline? Now, one way of doing this is you could actually follow the building profiles, but what I find is, what are the big shapes? There's the one building in here that's kind of in this location, and it kind of, you look at how high it is to relative to how wide it is, and where it is on the page. So this little rectangle is sort of in this area of my picture plan, my canvas, my page. So do that. Draw that building in. It's just the lower part of the building, not the trapezoid that forms the roof.
Okay.
Do it.
Use the arm.
Well, yeah, if you can. Yeah. All right. So that, not bad. Not
There you go.
bad.
There you
I
go.
would have put it a little over to the
Okay,
right there.
we're just practicing.
Well, we are, but the thing is, you're placing shapes in relationship to one another. So what do we? You know, I said here, this whole shape is made up of a whole bunch of buildings. So here's one building.
Oh, I see.
Here's another building. Here's another building.
Yeah.
Or put it this way: here's a rectangle. Here's a rectangle. Here's a rectangle. There's a rectangle.
So how do you
So you
how
just-
can you measure what you see and then actually put it on the page?
Well, you can actually measure things, and one way to do it is, and if I may, I'll put this back here, and you say this rectangle here, and you go, how wide is that rectangle, or how wide is it? It's that wide on your pencil,
Okay.
and you go, oh, well, that's sort of 1.5 of these,
Right. Okay.
right? So you draw your line on here, and you go, here, it's this wide,
Yeah.
and then it's 1.5
So you kinda
of
like-
those. So you're getting that proportion.
Yeah.
So it's taller than it is wide, right? And it's about the same height as this rectangle beside it, right? So there you go. Do that.
I think it works. See that there? And then it's the same thing.
Okay, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Do that guy, and then do that guy.
Oh.
And another way to look at it is, see all these vertical lines? That line
Okay.
is how far away from that line, is how far away from that line, is how far away from that line.
Oh, I see.
Working your way across the
Yeah,
page. So you're going, you're fitting all these guys into
Yeah.
this width,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Okay. So basically just outline the triangles,
Well,
rectangles,
so you're thinking,
squares.
for buildings and other objects, is it a rectangle? Is it a square? Is it
Yeah.
a triangle?
Yeah.
Is it a circle basic? What is the basic shape? So these
Okay.
are all rectangles,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Later on, like the steeple on the church there is, or the roof on the church is a triangle.
Triangle, yeah.
And the gables are triangles, and these are trapezoids. But trapezoids are just rectangles with triangles attached
Right.
to them. So you're thinking,
I knew that.
when you look at buildings, of course you did, because you're a smart boy.
Yes. I'm from West Sussex.
Yeah. Right. Anyway,
So
get drawing. So
yeah.
you got what I mean?
Just do the lines.
So think about
Do the shapes. I mean.
So think about, do the shapes, but think about where they are in
yeah.
relationship
Okay.
to one another.
Okay. Let me try, and you do it, and I'll do it.
All right.
Go ahead.
And you also might think, if you're trying to place it on the page, where is that rectangle relative to the center of the, right? That might help. If you look at the width of the drawing, you go, what's right in the middle of the drawing? Well, it looks like it's this guy. So that rectangle is next to that rectangle. So he's about, the door of that is in the middle of the drawing, so he has to sit somewhere in the middle of the drawing to make room for these other buildings beside it. So, I would draw It might have been a good place to start. And the eave of this guy is a bit lower than that guy. See, you're looking at relationships.
Okay, you show me how.
So here you go. There's that rectangle. There, about. The one next to him is a little higher. He's here. This rectangle beside it is the same height, there and there, right? So there's that building. And then there's something back here next to him.
Okay.
Okay. And then over here, there's a whole bunch of little buildings. There's a little sliver of a building there, right? And then there's this thing that guy is lower than this, so he's down here somewhere.
How are you holding the pencil? Like that?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you hold it? Wait, show me, like, do it with your...
Like that.
And then, like this?
Like, well, like this.
Like that?
Instead of like this.
Yeah, it's kind of like looser, right?
Like you see people drawing, they draw straight lines like this.
Yeah.
Hairy lines. Don't do hairy lines.
Oh.
You know, like,
ooh, that feels so much better, just holding it like that.
Yeah, it does.
It does, it does.
It actually does feel pretty good.
Okay.
So you're holding it lightly.
Lightly.
Otherwise, you're over pressing it. You're making
Bosham, West Sussex.
There you go. So this little building here is wider, but the top of that peak is below there. So that peak, you think, where is it in relationship to that? So you can put a dot there.
Oh my God, holding it
put
like
another
this,
dot there.
Holding like this makes a big difference.
And then you just slide it across. You could even, if you want to. Sometimes if you just want to draw straight lines and you're drawing your arm across, you can move the page and just slide it across, so you're not having to do. If you feel.
Ooh, that's a good idea, actually.
Just tilt this over and do this. Slide that over like that, and you can do it lightly, right?
Yeah,
you don't before you, because these are just the guidelines for your ink work.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So now
So this doesn't count.
No, this doesn't. Well, it counts because you're going to count on it for your.
It's a trace.
What you're doing here is you're placing all of well, kind of.
This is the first time I've actually sat down and you've taught me how to sketch. In how many years?
Yeah, 33 years.
No, that's how old I am, but like how long have I been around when you've been sketching?
Well, put
like
it this
when
way.
we travel or something like that.
I've been sketching longer than you've been alive, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
that's 33 years.
Anyway.
Not that I'm
Now hang on.
that old.
Pay attention, Mike.
Okay, yeah.
We're working.
Oh, not details.
This relationship of rectangles and shapes that form this row of buildings that are, let's call that the horizon line.
Okay.
All right, there's a horizon line and there's all these buildings sitting in there.
Yeah.
So, do you have the proportions right?
No.
No. What's wrong with them?
It's wavy.
Well, no, that's not a proportion issue. A proportion issue is how. Oh, I love you.
No, I don't know.
How tall is something relative to how wide it is? So, is this line the same proportion to the width? It's pretty close. It's there.
I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not bad.
It might be a bit short.
It's a tiny bit too high. It should be around here. So, but let's not worry about that. Okay, so you've got. Okay. So that's where this rectangle is. Right?
Ah!
Okay.
Let me do my own thing.
Draw this one. Draw this middle building.
Okay.
Proportionally.
Ooh, like this.
So another tip is, if you don't know where to start and stop the line, sometimes you want to put a dot on the paper. So, like for example, see the edge of the building there? This line here? Where does this eave hit that line?
Like there.
Right there, so you put a dot.
Put a dot.
Okay, how far over is this dot?
Yeah.
Relative
like
to the height? It's like 1 and almost 2, just a little under twice as wide as it is high. So you put a dot there. Yeah, well, there you go. Look at you go. And then down. Yeah, okay, now this little guy.
It's all about how you hold the pencil. I swear.
Well, it helps.
And then this guy.
Okay, now
there.
Oh, look at you go. Yeah. Okay, so that's a narrow one. Yeah. Okay, now do this guy here.
And then maybe that's the top of that one. So you gotta go up.
You're getting it. You're totally getting it.
Down.
You're totally getting it.
I don't have enough room for this.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, but come down to that corner.
Wait,
that corner looks like it's lower than this one, doesn't it?
Whoop. And then
Yeah. Well, okay, you can do that. Good one. And where does the wall come down?
like here. Boom.
Yeah, this roof line goes past that outside wall.
Ooh, I
So
moved
you
the
got
paper.
it. See, you got this here, and this actually disappears down lower than that corner.
Thank
so
you. I know.
see that point?
Thank you.
This point is down below that one. If you drew a straight line across there, he's down there
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
So that's the way you look at it,
Okay,
right?
okay.
You're looking at where
Yeah.
is everything in relationship to everything else.
Right.
But you start with the big guys and then you work in. All right, so you've got this rectangle in, you got this rectangle, you got this guy, that guy, that guy.
You finish yours.
Okay.
I'm doing great.
You are doing great, Julie. So I noticed that you did pick up that this end of the eave is right on the corner of that little building, and he's up. And then you go, okay, where's the peak of this guy relative to that peak?
Yeah,
and he's just
yeah.
a little to the left. And then he slides, he's the same, and he's parallel to that roof, so he comes down like that somehow.
Yeah.
And then that end wall, just like you placed it, hits it here,
Yep.
right? And then there's something low that comes off this. I didn't get that roof right. That's a little lower than this. Okay, and then there's some horizontal line here that goes across. It doesn't go over very far, and then it hits this building.
Okay.
And that eave line is in line with this eave line, so that's somewhere across here. So this is there. And then this goes across, and then this disappears off the page. So we got all these basic shapes in the pure middle ground, right?
Just disappeared.
And now, sometimes people like to erase, but I won't bother. These are just guidelines, so you just want to place some of the basic shapes. Okay, now you go, well, what else can I add? Well, we could add this big building, the church in the background, but he's beyond the roof line of these buildings in the foreground, along the water's edge here. So let's draw the roof shapes. So each rectangle here has a roof shape on it. This rectangle, for example, has a slope there and a slope there.
So you want to do the rectangles kind of first, and then adding the details on top of the main shapes.
In this drawing, yes. Then this one has got a little thing going on, and it's got a flat top.
Okay.
And then it angles across down here.
Yeah.
All right, and then there's something weird going off in the distance there, and there's an eave line down here. This guy here. And there's a series. Yeah, I'm getting sucked into the details. Let's not do that yet. This middle rectangle here, it has a pitched, angled roof line, goes across flat.
Right.
Then it comes down, right? This guy, the little black house there, doesn't have. It has a flat roof, so there's nothing there. And then you have this guy and this guy. But look at what's happening here. That's the flat gable end, and you see the ridge disappearing into the background. This is called a ridge on the roof.
Yeah.
This is the flat gable end of that building.
That's
and you
the small amount of perspective.
So what you see is the side of the slope roof, right? And it's
like that.
Like that, exactly. You got it. Okay? So there I've added mine. Now I haven't added the roof on this guy. So why don't you... And sometimes you just kind of make it up a little bit. Well, that's a little too far. You want to have a break between this guy and so just imply that there's a wall here, even though you don't have the proportion. Right?
Oh, okay.
Nobody will know.
Nobody will know.
They'll
never see this book.
Well,
when they see this.
It's called artistic license. Sometimes you're doing the drawing and you're creating relationships that feel right, that kind of are representative.
Okay.
I mean, what's representative of this is a series of little blocky buildings along a waterfront. Okay, so we've got that happening. Whether the distance between here and here is exactly precise doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's more about creating the impression of these relationships of buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got these profiles of the shapes. We got rectangles. We got the trapezoids for roofs. Now Now you step back a little further.
I didn't do this roof.
Oh yeah, put the roof in there.
Yeah.
There, perfect.
All about that way.
All right,
hold
good.
the pencil.
Just keep it light. All right.
Okay.
All right. Now, what's behind this building? There's
more
another,
buildings.
There's another kind of complex roof. Sometimes you can decide not to include things if it complicates the image. So in this case, I might take that. Looks like a couple of stacked chimneys and a complicated roof. You could just simplify it and imply that there's something behind there. But draw that angle in.
Yeah.
draw that vertical line to the side of the chimney side of the side, if you will,
Yeah.
is visible. So you do a little rectangle there. And then there's the ridge line that goes across. Looks like there's another series of chimneys at the back. And then let's just say, it cuts across the front of it. See that little...
that's like a background.
This chimney comes down beyond.
That's like
the
a part
edge
of another building, maybe, or I see. No, it's actually part. It's the same one, but
it might be another building. It's hard to tell. Actually, it probably. Oh no, it is. It is.
It is.
It's like it's got a roof with two flat chimneys stuck on the side. Anyway, that by drawing it that way, that is behind this, and that's how you can create a sense of distance and depth and a false sense of perspective that says, oh, this is in front of that. That creates depth.
Totally.
All right, so now what do we got going on here? Well, there's a whole bunch of trees. So trees are just circles, right?
Right.
So let's just see this sketch. Let's just have a look at it. This could be a clump of trees. That could be an arced circle. This could be a little tree.
Yeah.
This could be another blobby sort of elliptical shape for a tree. This could be thing and there. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little organic circular shapes.
Yeah. So like 1.
Okay, but you got to be conscious of where you're doing those two, right?
Oh,
how
whoops.
high is that?
That's the wrong one.
How high it's
It's supposed to be over
where's
here.
the top of that relative to this ridge line, relative to what you're going to draw on the
Yeah,
background?
my bad. Okay.
I mean, I suppose we could have gone and drawn the church in the background, which may have helped us.
But the church is behind the bushes.
Yeah, but the bushes are in front of the church, right?
So you do that first.
So it starts at the ridge line.
You do. I want to see you do it.
Okay, so where I see this blob is it starts right there, and it bubbles around like this, comes in just above that roof line, a little higher.
We're in a studio, so there's creaking. So if you hear that,
okay, and then there's another glob of something, and then there's a little circular blob of tree in there.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then there's a kind of a bigger one that starts about there and comes all the way over here. Does that? I didn't draw the roof on this guy.
I'm tense. I gotta loosen up.
I know, you gotta relax. It's very stressful. It shouldn't be, but you tend to do that when you're trying to make things too precious.
Yeah.
And here's this couple of little roofs. Okay.
Mine's bigger.
And then there's a big blob here. All right.
Yeah.
So those trees. Cool. There's also something behind this guy. So let's draw that in. He starts off near the chimney and just arcs around like that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So do that. Okay.
And then there's like a little branch thing here.
Well, we could, but that's kind of fussy detail.
Yeah.
Sometime you decide that whether it needs to be done. Don't overdo it at first. Place the big shapes. See how it feels. If the composition works, then just leave it.
Okay.
Because part of doing a nice drawing is editing out too much detail.
Right.
All right. So now, where is this main event? The big feature, almost focal point, is this.
So you look at it relative to the rest of the things that are in your photo, right?
So where's the edge of that tower and that tower relative to what you drew in the foreground?
Yeah.
And then how much higher is that ridge relative to, say, that line or that line? Some line on your thing. So you go, well, let's see. This is almost right in line. This is almost right in line with the corner of this roof line, right?
Here,
so in your case, it'll be right there.
Yeah.
So there's a vertical line.
Okay, you do it.
It just comes up like that. And it's just a guideline. All right?
Yeah.
And now, how wide is that relative to other things you draw?
So like center of this one.
Well, I use the reference of this corner to take that. You've got it. Now the question is, where's this guy relative to where that line is? You want to draw the other line in. Well, it's sort of just somewhere close to this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe a little. It's almost in line with the point of that thing. So you go, where is it on my drawing? Well, okay, so another line.
There you go.
All right, and then another way to do it. Oh, you've already got your third line in. So then the question is, how far is that line?
I'm a rusher.
Yeah, I know. You should slow down. Well, I always said you're the jackrabbit and I'm the tortoise. Yeah, the tortoise and the hare.
But I trip, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, how far away from this line is that line relative to this distance? Well, it's a little shorter than this, just like you've got. So you're on it. You're all over this.
Right, I get
You're
it.
all over
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
I appreciate you
Okay.
clarifying that.
Now, where is this horizontal line? Well, or maybe we go here. Where's that?
Yeah.
So now we're starting to think, how do I place that? Have I got some references?
I got.
Is it like how? Like where's this? Is it?
It's kind of like
what do I
at the
use?
tip. It's at the tip of this other right here, right? Like,
Yeah, I looked at the roof line here, and I'm saying from here to here, that looks like it's twice as high. So this is it starts somewhere in here, and it goes that one width. So that's the same width there.
Yeah.
Two widths, and goes straight across. And then,
Oh, I see. Okay.
so here's your roof line.
Yeah.
If it's correct.
Well, it has to be.
It feels like it's a little too flat relative to the facade. So why don't we move that line down to there?
Oh, okay.
Call that the
You can do
ridge.
that. You
And
can just move it.
Well,
It's
because,
traced.
okay, so now you go two of those.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so it's up here. So draw your horizontal across there.
Yeah, like this. Whoa.
Boom. Okay, now where is this guy? I want to draw that line in, and so where is he? He's just a little ways down below the thing, midpoint between those two lines. So somewhere in, like if you drew a guideline through here, that's the midpoint. How far down? I'd say he's about there. So you're gonna go.
So there.
Yeah, it feels like that's a little too low. Move it up here.
What the
The horizontal.
horizontal?
Yeah.
Why? If this bush doesn't exist.
Oh, that does. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So there's a line that goes all the way down.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. Until okay. So this is now. Oh, maybe that's too far. Oh, you're right. I shouldn't have taken your. Okay. So what's going to happen is this comes down.
Yeah.
In front of that guy. So this sort of and another thing you can do
Like there.
is when you're looking at things, you can check angles by just tilting your.
I've seen so many artists do that,
Well,
and I just don't.
There's a couple of things that they're doing. They're actually measuring something out in the world by.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
that roll of thing?
Yeah.
You go, oh, it's that high.
Okay.
At fixed length, and that that painting behind there is 1, 2, 3.5 of those. So
Oh.
you go, oh, okay. So
Oh, and
I
then you
think-
use that as scale
it's
to
a proportioning
match.
device.
Right.
But the other thing that you can do is you can hold your pencil at an angle, overlay something on the drawing, and say, and then just bring and try to hold it. I mean, it's a bit intuitive, but you know, you
Right.
hold that angle and you say, well, it's about,
Oh, I see.
you know, try. I'm not sure how well that works, but it kind of does.
I think it's
you
it's
can't
practice.
be doing. You can't be doing this stuff.
So yeah, you have to go
No,
like this.
no. So
1,
let's
2,
we'll try it.
3, 4.
Yeah, that's
And then-
proportioning. But what you're trying to do is get this angle. A couple of ways you can do it is you can actually tick points on your drawing. Say, I know that this
That's-
is midpoint of this guy here,
Right.
and he lands somewhere down
Past
here, which
the
is
other
close.
line.
You know, so he's over here somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So you
So
kind
you connect the dots,
boom.
and you can actually look at it and look at the drawing and say, yeah, that looks about right.
Okay.
And you just leave it,
Nice.
right?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
just stick with that.
So then, the other thing is, where is that? Well, this horizontal, the ridge of the church goes straight across there. Then the question is, well, how long is it, right? And you can do the proportioning
Oh, it's
thing
past
again.
this roof.
Well, you can
right?
go,
Boom.
the distance from here to here is
Yeah.
that 1,
2.
2, or a little less than 2. So you go 1,
So
2, a little less than 2. So it's over here
1,
somewhere.
2. So like here,
Yeah.
here-ish.
And it comes down at a parallel angle to that guy. So you do that. And actually, not that when I drew that in, it does hit this bush that I drew. See, I drew this
Nice.
bush in here.
Yeah.
It actually does hit the top of that bush from there to there.
And then you're gonna.
And then there's another angle, almost, you know, mirror image. Like if you do a line through there, that would be the same angle in the opposite direction. So you could go like that. Like if you just drew a center line and then said, okay, that other is sort of the
Oh,
same
I
angle
see, I see.
reflected. So there's the other side of, there's that guy.
Draw a center line.
And then it looks like there's another ridge that's just a bit lower than that. right?
So you kind of like...
Yep. Yep. And he comes down. I mean, this is a pretty complicated drawing you picked, but you're doing great.
Thank you.
For a rookie.
Yes.
All right. So you find a place on that center line of that end gable and say that point is that guy, and there's a line that goes across there, right? So you
and then the
whoa.
bushes are...
Okay, now how do we do this fancy dancy roof? So one way to do it is to go that eve line extends just past the two sides. So it's got, you put a point there and you put a point there.
Yeah.
And then you go, where's that thing relative to those two guys? Let's just say it's in the middle. Right. So somewhere between exactly through the middle there, you put a little guideline straight up and down. And you go, okay, now the question is, how do you place that point, knowing what you know now?
I don't know. I think for me, I would probably try to measure the the width here to here, and then try to get that first, and then measure the width to here, and get that after.
Could do that, yeah. Is there something on here, like for example, this distance here from that guy down to this eve line? That looks pretty close to that. You check it and you go, oh, so it's the same distance from here to there.
Oh,
right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean
but
like
only
to get
a little more. So you see, if you go like this.
Yeah.
And you go, I put that up there, and you go, well, it's just a little bit more.
Oh, I see.
So I go like, all right, well, what's this distance there to there?
Okay, so you use what you already have in your photo to keep the scale.
And then it's there's that line, but it's just a little higher.
Nice.
And then you go,
kind of like we'll do there.
So then where is this? The way I would do this is there's a triangle and there's a trapezoid.
Oh shoot.
So where is that horizontal line relative to that whole assembly? And it looks like it's maybe a quarter of a third of the way.
Okay.
So let's put it there.
Yeah.
And then you know that this angle, this triangle is steeper than that angle. So let's put something in here and something in there, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you draw that. So you want to just get a general relationship.
Oops. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Then it kind of like goes up, make the triangle.
Yeah, so you go from that point.
Yeah.
That point to there, and then that point down.
Yeah,
however
I got you.
And try you do these sort of.
Like that.
Look at you go.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Very good. Okay, now, so what do we got? We got. Where's that? Let's call that the reference line. That sidewalk. So make sure we have and that sidewalk there's some stuff happening here in front of the buildings that. I think we were drawing. I'm not sure what we were drawing, the whole white building or the brick in front. I was kind of the narrow, but there's a good chance to look at your proportions, see, does that rectangle look right? And so what you might do is call this your sidewalk line, and above the sidewalk line is that brick wall, and that brick wall, and that brick wall. So why don't you draw those in? Right, so this hasn't got a brick wall in front of it, it's got something else low down.
Right.
That brick wall is up here. Then there's a little staircase, just a slot. Then there's another brick wall that goes all the way in front of this little guy. So he goes across to there, down. Right, and this wall comes down all the way, and then there's this guy, so boom. Then there's something here. All right, and we won't worry about. So now, what have I done? I got that wrong. Do that. All right, there's that. Okay, so that's our sidewalk. Do another line beside it. And then you have some other guck happening in here. This green vegetation, which is only a sliver, but there's another. And you might even just make that a wavy line.
Okay.
So it looks like vegetation. I know all these pencil lines are getting a little complicated. Yeah, it's got to be parallel to the sidewalk. You kind of dropped off to the right there, but that's okay. Or maybe you're right. Maybe it is dropped off. No, it's pretty flat. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so what do we got so far?
Now we have to do the reflection.
No. Well, yeah, you could, but I would place the boat. So where is
Totally.
that boat? Okay?
It's all about finding the
Because
shapes.
that's the middle ground, you got the background. Now you need a foreground. He's obviously a foreground element, okay?
Yeah.
So where is the front of the boat? Where's the back of the boat? Where's the bottom of the boat relative to everything else on the page?
Yep.
So
Back of the boat, back front of the boat.
So the front
bottom
of the boat is aligned with this little guy, somewhere down here,
yeah.
right?
Which,
And the back of the boat's almost right at the edge, so let's just put him down here somewhere. And then this line, how far down the base of the boat is relative to the sidewalk? It's there, which is about the height of this building and the brick wall. So this distance here, in your case, that distance, right, there to there, looks like it's the same distance as there to there. So here's your sidewalk line.
sorry, say that again?
Okay, you're trying to locate the base of the boat.
Okay.
You locate the point of the front of the base of the boat, which is somewhere in line with the edge of this little building here. So that's this guy. So it's down here somewhere.
Right.
The back of the boat is close to off the page, so let's just assume it's out there somewhere.
Okay.
Now you go, where do you draw that line?
Yeah.
And you go, well, in the image, or in the inspiration, it's about, you measure it to something that you have on your drawing already, and I'm going from the eve line here to the sidewalk looks about that distance, so you go, okay, so it must be that distance, so what's that distance? Oh, okay, well, Jesus,
You're going
it's over here.
fast. You're going fast. I don't know what
Am I going too fast?
I don't know either. So sorry. So let me just ask a question. So we are trying to figure out how long the boat is, right?
No, where it's placed vertically in the image.
Oh, I
and
see.
horizontally.
Yeah, and that way.
Where is this object
So, but these
sitting in that
two
rectangle,
lines
which
are
is your
the guidelines for where the front and the back are.
Yes.
Right.
And now
and
you
so,
need guideline for where the base is. And
yeah.
you need
So.
to, and you need to place
see.
that in relationship to something that you've already established
Okay.
on the drawing.
Yeah.
And the sidewalk we've created is kind of like a horizon line in a way.
Yeah.
It's a great reference point. So the reference point.
So you use the horizon line to compare distances.
You use a reference in your drawing somewhere to measure things vertically.
Okay.
And some other reference to measure horizontally.
Yeah.
So you're measuring how far something is to the right or to the left, and how far something is up or how far something is down in your drawing. In that somehow represents sort of what you see in the image, whether it's a real thing or whether it's a photo like this.
Okay.
So, did you get how to do that?
So, yes. So,
you're trying to find the point of that boat.
The point. This point. What about the top point?
Well, we get that later, but
you want to start.
That's where that's a horizontal line.
Oh.
That's an arc.
I see.
The boat has a swooping.
I see. Okay.
So that's a good reference, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
You would take something from this part of the photo.
Yeah, right there. This distance.
This distance.
So put your finger on the thing.
Yeah, right there.
Well, no, on your pencil. Like this. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like that, and then you would take the point on the sidewalk, put it there, and judge where it is on the paper. Well, I guess it's there, close enough.
Oh, I see. So
there's your reference. There's the front of the pencil.
Yeah.
So there's your finger. That's where the
bottom
of the boat
bottom
is.
of the boat
so that's a horizontal line.
I see.
Okay. Now,
bottom boat.
The tip of the boat is how much higher than the bottom of the boat? Well, is there something else we can compare it to? Well, it kind of looks about the same height as a brick wall over here. So you got a brick wall over here.
Brick wall.
So that you can just eyeball it at some point. You don't have to measure everything slavishly. You go, well, it's about that.
So like kind of like that.
Okay, and then you see that the back is a little shallower than the front. You don't have to be slavish about that either. So instead of drawing a straight line that's parallel to the base, it tapers. It just goes like that.
Yeah.
So just do a sweeping line. It doesn't matter if you get the proportion right, because it already looks like a boat just by doing that.
Sure.
Right? Then the other thing is the mast. because that's a really strong element, right?
Totally.
So where is the mast relative to the width of the boat? It looks like it's almost about a quarter, between a quarter and a third of the width. So here's a quarter.
Okay.
That would be a third.
Quarter.
So he's somewhere over here. And you can also check in your drawing, where does that hit
Okay.
on some other references. Let's see this. So it passes right in front of the edge of this building, right?
Oh.
So you go, okay. And that wasn't too bad. See, I marked that as relative to this width, this distance.
It's kind of like leaning also.
Yeah, it is kind of, but I wouldn't. That's a detail you don't. So I would say you just draw
Okay.
a reference line to go straight up. Okay, you can lean yours. All right. So where's the top of the mast?
Relative to the church.
Or relative to
Or
something.
whatever's
something.
right below it, or
Yeah. Well, I would. You know what I would do? I would just go. Where's the top of the church?
yeah.
Where does that hit on the church? Oh, looks like it's a little more than halfway up this roof.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
here's a little more than, there's halfway up the roof. A little more than halfway up the roof.
Okay.
So I think that's where the top of the mast is.
Yeah. Okay.
Bada boom, bada bing.
There you go.
Look you go.
So good. He's west.
He's so good. He's
west
so
to
good.
Sussex.
All right. So that's, now it's kind of a double line. So you might want to just, well, you don't have
We'll
to
do a double
anything,
line.
But no, it's really, you don't want it to look like, it doesn't want to look like a tree trunk, right?
No.
Okay, you got it. So we won't worry about reflections right now.
That's gonna be hard.
All right. So how can we apply? So we have this horizontal line, which is the sidewalk. We have another wavy line that implies the grassy slope in front of the sidewalk, and then we have water. And a trick to doing water is just to run a bunch of broken horizontal lines back and forth across the page. Maybe you can give them a little wave here and there, a little wave here and there, a little wave here and there. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah. Once you get used to drawing with your arm more and less with your hand and your fingers, then drawing kind of straight lines, either vertically or horizontal. But that's just practice.
Okay.
You're doing great though.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got the basic shapes. We got a skyline. We got middle ground made up of a bunch of buildings. We have a sidewalk. We have a water's edge, and we have an object in the water.
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. Now, how much more detail do we want to put in this before we actually
What about
start
the buoy?
Yeah, that's a detail, but we could add that now. Sure. And where's the buoy? Locate the buoy relative to where the boat is.
So it's kind of in the middle it's in the middle here.
It's in the middle of
this
just
building.
A little to the right of the middle of that
Yeah, a
building.
little bit to the right. Yeah.
And the bottom of it is above the bottom of the boat.
Right,
Looks like
right.
just
So
a
like
fraction.
kinda like
So somewhere in there.
here.
Yeah,
ish,
kind of
yeah.
like there and there, or
Yeah.
no, well, this, yeah, that's how
Yeah,
you're thinking
there.
about these things. Yeah.
Circle. I made a circle.
Okay, so now what do we do?
It's the one circle in the picture.
I would suggest the only other thing that we might want to do in terms of the main shapes here is this. The church steeple has got two sides, but then so does, well, actually it's a more complicated roof, but let's make it simpler. There's actually folded.
Okay, let's bring it here.
Yeah, if you look closely, this is a really complicated roof. There's a little fillet here and a little fillet there and a little fillet there. But for the purposes of this drawing, we will simplify it down to just being, this is a 1, 2, 3, this is probably a 6 or 8 sided cone type roof. Let's just make it a 4-sided. So it basically will have one ridge coming down to there, right? So let's say that so that's the wall. The edge, the ridge of this guy is just to the right of this wall. So you just put a line in there, angling up, and then you add that line. So now you've got this roof that is only got 2 sides visible. And for the purposes of a drawing like this, you see, the challenge is we may well have too much detail already, but that's fine.
So
We've laid the basics
that's
down.
the shapes with pencil,
Yeah.
right? You just
So
make
we
the
could
shape.
we could actually start drawing this. Now, we could start to think about how much detail we want to put in the buildings. There's obviously windows and things like that, but we could do that once we get the basic shapes in.
Okay.
Because there's a tendency to kind of overdo it. I think we could be confident enough to do the lines in ink and then add the detail in ink and then decide what detail we want to leave out and what detail we want to include.
And so some urban sketchers I see doing the shapes or the watercolor first in the shapes and then putting the
that's a more
pen after.
That's a more impressionistic
Nice
way to do it. And I mean, what we've done, lots of urban sketchers do single line contour drawings, which is just not doing everything we did.
Okay.
After enough experience of looking at something and seeing how things are in relationship to one another, I'm kind of at that place now where I can look at a drawing and I can just start drawing. I mean, I might put a few points in, but then I just fill in and I just start drawing and not lift my pen off the paper and just draw everything, right?
And what is
that's
that exercise for? Like, what is that supposed to be helping you with? Kind of more stream of consciousness drawing, or
no, it's actually a technique for learning how to see things when you draw.
Okay.
It's called blind. Well, it starts with a blind contour drawing. So, for example, if I looked at that pen and I did a blind contour drawing of it, I'm just looking at the pen. I'm not looking at what I'm doing on the paper. And I say I start at the back of the pen.
Okay.
And I go up, and then I go up. I see there's a little bend. I go across, and then I see that there's a little kind of link between that, and then I go around, and I go around the thing, and then I come down, and I see there's the pocket holder, and it comes back and hooks around and comes back somewhere over here, and then it goes there. So.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to close your eyes, like look at it, close your eyes, and draw.
No. Well, no, you're looking at this. You're always looking at this, but you're not looking at your
paper.
drawing.
Yeah.
And so what that does is it teaches you to actually study what you're drawing, because a lot of people start out drawing symbols, like, for example, children at some point go, oh, an eye looks like this. It's a lozenge. And a face is a circle with two lozenges and a smile, but that's not, or a chair is
a lozenge,
is
squares,
looks like that, or whatever. And really, an artist needs to break down the symbolic memories of what things are and really look at what they're drawing, because they think a tree looks like it's got a trunk and branches,
Right.
Well, yeah, that's a symbol for a tree, but what does the tree that you're looking at actually look like?
Right.
So what are the houses that you're looking at actually look like, as opposed to what your idea of a house might be? Oh, a house has got a wall with windows and a door.
Oh, I see.
So that's what this exercise is about. So when you do these contour drawings, and they're a really cool exercise to do, because there's some, and then another, so that's the blind contour drawing. But then the next step is, I think it's called a modified contour drawing, and that drawing is actually you looking at the object and looking at your sketch. So let's see what I can do with that one. So there's the pen. I started at the back. I go up a little. I see the notch. I come across a certain distance. I circle around. There's the joint to the pen. The top of the pen tapers down a little. It comes down. There's the handle. It goes around. It does that. I see there's a little space between that and that. This goes across here. And there's, and then there's some writing on here. Right, and that's I never lifted my pencil off the paper. So you do a bunch of those, and it actually is kind of fun. I've done a whole bunch of drawings like that I tend to prefer, because they're so loose and free. But if you're just starting out and you want to capture a likeness, these are the kind of techniques that you would use to capture a likeness.
kind of deconstruct it and use it.
Well,
there.
no, break it down into shapes and relationships.
Right, that's what I mean.
How-
Deconstruct it into the shapes of the
Break
major
down
shapes.
what you're looking at into shapes and where are they placed
Yeah.
in relationship to one another on the page.
Right.
And don't be too slavish about it, because sometimes if you try to copy it exactly as it exists, it tends to either be too detailed or might just be boring.
Right.
But it's a good exercise to draw those things that captures a likeness, and that applies to portraits or landscapes or urban sketching or
Okay.
anything. So those are simple principles
right.
of capturing a likeness.
So should we just start with ink now?
Yeah, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Hold on. Let me just